Okay, welcome everyone to another video. Oops, I said hello everyone, welcome to another video. This is Benjamin Cowenberg from www.consciousazine.net. So, today's video title is Spiritless Humans in the Spiritual Movement number 5, which means I've done 4 previous ones with this essential meaning and title. Conservative reserved is not spirit fire. Let's put an exclamation mark so you know what I mean. Okay. We're going to get into it. Just looking over my notes here. Yeah. Spiritless humans seem to be really in every creed, every culture, every class, every race. The out-to-goes exist, just like the indigos exist in every creed, class, culture and race. Every thought paradigm, they're in universities, they're in spiritual movements, they are everywhere, just like indigos. So are the outgoes thrust randomly upon the earth, or, well, not randomly, but they're everywhere. They're in every movement and, you know, so on, like I've said, creed, class and race. What I notice is the spiritless humans are the ones who are much more reserved, they're much more echoes, they're not so much a hardcore voice, if you will. You know, sometimes your light attracts moths, and your warmth attracts parasites. Definitely protect your space and energy, Warson Shire. Yeah, most definitely. You know, sometimes your light attracts moths, and your warmth attracts parasites. But I find people who are afraid, and we're going to talk about that, the same walls that keep out so-called danger, keep out knowledge and advancement. So I find that there's people who are scared or afraid to be themselves. These people still exist. We haven't gotten over some hump. Again, I'm reminded of the quote by Dennis McKenna, brother of Terence McKenna, founder of the Time Wave Zero, and he said, "Have you ever noticed, as the sphere of understanding is expanding, necessarily the surface area of ignorance is growing larger?" And I've noticed some people are afraid. They're really afraid to be themselves and to speak up. We're going to go into that down here. Maybe we should go straight to that. The path of the spiritual warrior is not soft and sweet. And you know what I find is that these people, they're not just afraid to speak up, but they're the ones that are afraid of parasites, even their own parasites in their body, mental parasites, or anybody sort of, you know, they don't have enough light to give for it to be taken. I have so much light to give, you know, people freely energy steal me and it barely bothers me. I wish more people would donate money or currency, because it's a current of energy, because I don't want to work for the beast system. I want to work directly for you guys, humanity, everyone. I don't want to work for some corporation to suck energy from humanity into a neurotic nuclear family model. I'm much larger than my bloodline, thanks. And what I find is these soft sort of people, it's not necessary that if you're soft-spoken you're not spiritual. That's not what's being said. But, you know, we are kind of saying and focusing in this video on conservative reserve, that softness is, and that withdrawn apathy is not spirit fire, is it? This is obvious. And I find these people are afraid to deal with all the things that come with speaking up. First, you run into the hive mind matrix. You'll have every second man and his dog commenting on the things you say, And that fears some people out. That's enough to shut down some people. But shutting down is not the forward momentum of the spirit fire. The path of the spiritual warrior is not soft and sweet, it is not artificially blissful. You know, that type of blissful ignorance where they're uber positivity or over positivity, and just positivity is half of the coin. The other side is negativity. And, you know, like Carl Jung said, there's no coming to consciousness without pain. People do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own soul. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And I just find those people are the same people a lot of the time, that they'll be ignorantly blissful and also too reserved and conservative. So I just wanted to make a video to enlighten this area. You know, the path of the spiritual warrior is not soft and sweet, it's not artificially blissful and pretend forgiving. It is not fearful of decisiveness or divisiveness. It is not afraid of its own shadow. It is not afraid of losing popularity when it speaks the truth. And that's huge these days, because we all know if I speak some truth that's really harsh, I will get less likes on the video, most likely, rather than less likely. So we know this. This is part of Facebook culture, part of YouTube culture, and it sickens me for sure. It makes me annoyed. Well, anyway. It's not the spiritual path is not afraid of losing popularity when it speaks the truth. That comes from the ego, the need to be fitting in here on lower earth, so to speak, in the lower dense body. But if you speak the truth, you'll be saved eternally, and you'll become a hyperspatial line rather than ego dot. Spiritual path, it will not beat around the bush, where directness is essential. It has no regard for vested interests. Some people say truth can be callous. It has no regard for vested interests that cause suffering. It is benevolent, and it is fiery, and it is cuttingly honest in its efforts to liberate itself and humanity from the egoic ties that bind. We want to be unbound, so if you lose friends for speaking the truth, you know you're on the right path. You're unbinding. The boundaries are dissolving. You will lose friends as you spiritually ascend, for sure. I can say from my own experience. Shunning strong opinions in the name of spirituality is anti-spiritual. Spirituality that is only floaty, soft, is a recipe for disaster, allowing all manner of manipulation to run amok, allowing you to be walked over, so on and so forth. Real spirituality is a quest for truth in all its forms. Sometimes we find the truth on the meditation cushion, it's true. And sometimes we find it in the heart of just conflict. Here's a quote from me. I know what's right because I was taught by light. That's me, 2013, I quoted that. When growing up, while my friends did what they were told, I learned from extra environmental circumstances and everything around me, and saw the contradictions in what mirrors nature and so forth. I was unbrainwashed, unculturally steeped. That's the notion I'm putting forth. Yeah, while all my friends were listening to their parents, I was doing the exact opposite. I was saying, no, stuff you. It's my life. I am me. I am my own spirits, and I will do what I want to, not what you think is best for me. Whether or not you're doing that from all tried, tested, I'm still going to do and explore. And I definitely did that, and I do recommend that. And my words are only ever, they're not law, L-A-W, they're only ever law, L-O-R-E. I'm just trying to give you information. Perhaps you dismiss it, and that's up to you. But I would say dismissal is not from an intelligent mind. And brain is not mind. If you think so, you haven't even moved to the iridescent view of consciousness. you're still hanging onto a thought paradigm associated with single mass clump brain. You know, Sheridan came up with the iridescent view of consciousness, but people before him came up with the clump brain idea and the idea that the brain produces consciousness. This is clearly incorrect when we study consciousness. It's like saying the radio presenter is within the radio box. Pardon the pun, but it also mirrors your denseness. All things, events, emotions, thoughts, actions, and existences can all be boiled down to light, information, experience, love, and awareness, and darkness, the lack of information, experience, and awareness. Hence the same walls that you put up in fear to keep out danger, keep out knowledge, and henceforth and moreover, your reserved conservative nature is less experiential and concurrent with more walls and boundaries. This is not ego dissolution, this is ego staying. Spirit fire burns down the veils and barriers. Evil, just like cold, does not exist. It is only the absence of awareness or heat. And don't forget, remember, chi is thought of as thermodynamically and hence relative to spirit fire, and called life force, energy. Creation is movement, is it not? And all, as in all creation, all is moving light, not stationary, devoid darkness, so hence spirit fire. Enter the fire. Hundreds of candles can be lit from one candle, but none can be lit from a non-lit candle. This is another quote from me here, from a few years ago. I took my ego life and I decided to love everybody. I could have hoarded all the information, so not doing so was an act of loving you, to bother to give it to you, yeah? To bother is to love. See how love is embedded in light? Also, I have an ego-less life. People always say, Ben, you have so much ego. Well, you're exactly wrong. And I'll tell you in the next sentence how. Where my ego is porous, because you can't kill an essential part of you. You're never going to kill the ego. It's impossible. It's only going to be made porous, but it's how you know whose mouth to put the spoon in. Who to feed. That's the ego. It has its uses, yeah? So I'm about to tell you why my life is egoless. It's because how I don't work for my ego or neurotic nuclear family bloodline. I could have a job right now, being an IT expert in some corporation, getting $80,000 a year. Instead, I choose to get $8 a week from you guys, or, you know, I'm trying to say I get barely any donations and I basically do this for free. I work for all of you, everybody. That's how my life is egoless, because I don't just pull energy into my neurotic nuclear family and bloodline, which is associated with your ego and your body. So we read this before. The same walls that keep out danger keep out knowledge and advancement. You might fear doing what I do, living on $8 here and there as a, you know, a sort of, no, I don't actually live on $8, but I live on very, very little money because I know how to food forage, and knowledge really is power. Not just acting on knowledge, but knowledge, having knowledge is having the power. And that's how I live my life. I chose that years and years ago. I chose to start studying. And just study, instead of just be afraid, where will this all take me? I could have had a lot of fear, you know. I could have went straight from university into a job, but instead I thought, I'm going to crack at it again. I'm going to work for the constituency, or the people, and I'm going to see if I can, you know, survive this way and hopefully thrive. And so far so good. I'm gaining a few more donations, and it's starting to work. So, you know, this stuff is like an exponential asymptotic curve. It starts flat, and then it rises a bit, and then it goes straight up and compounds forever. consciousazine.com Chronicles. Okay, my friends, so I leave you with a question. Why is Wally? Is Wally just a means to the Empire's ends, or an ends to his own means? There's no coming to consciousness without pain. Like Nietzsche said, you need a great chaos within to give birth to a star. So why is Wally? Is Wally just a means to the Empire's ends, self-spirit apathy, or an ends to his own means? Let's stop pretending that we're made solely of light, which yes is true generally on the post or down-dimensional construct from the fifth dimension down, because we're made up of the unified field, the light, but our upper parts are darker. For instance, I had a vision of soul, and you know how we call the great work Magnus Opus? It was weird that it was like a dark cloud with little Magnus Opes in it, little opals, which were multicoloured like a rainbow opal. So, but what I mean is, let's stop pretending we're just blissful light, and the reason is because it seems to me that those same people don't look at any of their shortcomings, their dark sides, and their shadows and so on. So we come to consciousness by making those dark parts conscious.